Hey guys, it's Waking Prophet here, and this video is going to be an emotional one because this video is the story about the day my mother died. Now, my mother was Lisa Ward, and she was murdered when I was 7 years old on May 31st, 2007, by a man named Paul Hudson, who was a neighbor. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is to hopefully for someone out there to see that bad things do happen, but it's your attitude towards them that make you the person who you are going to be the next day. Now, yes, this was a very traumatic experience for me, but I grew and I learned that it happened for a reason, and I have accepted it. Sorry about that. And I have accepted it, and I have learned how to live with it. So, anyways, here it is. This is the story about my mom dying. Well, the day started early morning, May 31st, 2007. I was woken in my bedroom. Well, it was my mother's bedroom, because I slept in the same bed with her, because there were no other rooms. And I don't know, I just couldn't sleep without being in the same bed as my mom. And, well, I was woken up. My little brother was in the bed next to me, and two sheriffs walked in the door, and they just started talking, and I didn't think anything of it. I didn't really wonder, why are there sheriffs here? Because, I liked sheriffs. They were pretty cool. Like every kid likes cops. Almost every kid wants to be a cop at some point in their life. So we were talking, the sheriff said, one of the sheriffs went downstairs, the other guy talked to me, sat on the bed. We had a nice conversation, saw my PlayStation, asked what game I like to play, and I told him just straight up, I like Grand Theft Auto. And he kind of chuckled at that, and I realized that that might not be a good of a thing to say to an officer. So I tried to make up for it. I tried to say, I don't play it how you're supposed to. I try to help the cops when I see people doing bad things in the game. And the officer laughed at that. He knew I was just messing around. But anyway, after about 5-10 minutes of talking to the officer, another cop comes in, and they go in a corner and start talking, and basically what I'm making out is that they want to move us from the room. So they were asking, they needed something to cover our eyes, like a blindfold or something. So they ended up just picking my brother and I up, and they carried us downstairs and out of the house while they had their hands over our eyes. And I still didn't realize what was going on. I had no clue. Still not thinking anything of it. Yeah, I thought it was weird, but, what are you gonna do, right? So anyway, after we go downstairs, they say, okay, you can open your eyes. And as I was opening my eyes, I realized that we were walking outside, and we went under the police tape, and the sunlight was blinding my eyes because my eyes were just closed for a while. And once I was able to see everything clearly again, I saw that everyone was out on their porches. Everyone in the neighborhood was outside. And when we got outside, I saw people putting their hands up to their mouths and crying, and the whole street was lined with cop cars and detective cars. And after we walk down the steps onto the sidewalk, a detective comes up and he asks, "Hey kids, you ever been in a detective's car before?" And I said, "No, that sounds like fun." So we go and sit in the detective's car. It was a green sedan. And we were just sitting in there, left us in there, just me and my little brother in the car by ourselves. I was just looking around, and then that's when I started crying. And I started crying to my brother, saying that I wanted my mom. I wanted mommy. Where is she? And after a couple minutes, the detective who asked if we wanted to sit in his car, he came back and he opened the door and he said, "What's wrong, buddy?" And I said, crying, tears all down my face, weepingly, I said, "I want my mommy." And what he did stuck with me for the rest of my life, because he didn't try to comfort me in any way. He said, "Oh boy, your dad's going to be here in just a second," and closed the door on me. So I just kind of toughed it up, and I saw my dad and my older brother. I saw them pull up, and the detective went to talk with them, and my dad had his arms crossed, and I was seeing him nod. And so that's when the detective, after they were finished talking, the detective came and got me and my brother, walked us to our dad, and he hugged us, and we got in the car. Sorry about that. We got in the car, and we started driving to his house. And I started asking questions like, "It's not the weekend, Dad. I'm not supposed to be going with you. I have school today. Where's Mom?" All this stuff. And he just kept saying, "We'll talk about it when we get home." So that was probably one of the longest car rides of my life, even though it was only a 5-10 minute drive. We finally got to his house and set us down on the couch. He got on his knees so we were at eye level. And he said, "Boys, your mom went to heaven." He said it more caring, more fatherly like than that, but that was the gist of what he said. And when I heard that, I just lost it, man. I just started bawling my eyes out, and I looked at my little brother, and he didn't really have any effect. He just didn't understand. He was 4. Just turned 4 years old, so he didn't really have the knowledge of death and all that. So after crying for a while and talking to my dad, I asked him, "I can't even sleep without her. How am I supposed to live without her?" And he just hugged me, and then he tried to comfort me by saying, well, in the Bible, Jesus actually brought someone back from the dead. And right after I heard that, I prayed for the rest of the day. I just prayed, "God, bring her back. Don't take her from me. Bring her back." And from that point on, mentally, I was no longer 7 years old. My world shifted, and I started to become the person I am today. Everything about my life changed from that day. I no longer had a mother. From that point on, man, it just became hard. I ended up moving in with my aunt, who I still live with. And my aunt and my mom were actually twins. So every time I look at my aunt, I see my mom. Now, since I've become more of a paranormal investigator, I have been able to make contact with my mom from the other side. And the first time that she made contact with me was actually at her funeral. And I went up and talked at her funeral. I don't remember what I said, but what I do remember is right after I finished, it was a really cloudy day, really gloomy, dark clouds. As soon as I finished, the clouds broke, the sun shone right through the window onto my shoulders. And I remember turning around and seeing the sun just shine on me right after I finished talking at my mother's funeral. Now, like I said, everything happens for a reason. And later on I found out, because we were actually, my mother, my little brother and I, we were actually going to move to California. And with my great uncle, my mom's uncle, we were going to move in with him. And I had talked to him like through email. We both liked WWE, which was weird because he was in his 60s or late 50s or whatever. But we both liked WWE, so we would talk about it. And I came to figure out that he was actually a drug addict and a child molester. So, if my mom hadn't died, I would have moved in with him and probably had a worse experience in my life. So knowing that, that gave me the light, and also having contact with my mother from the other side gave me hope that, yes, in fact, there is existence after we die, and that my mom is okay and no longer in pain and happy. And I'm waiting for the day that I can reunite with her. But that day can wait, because I am still going to live the best life, the most fulfilled life that I possibly can, and I'm going to help everyone I meet do the same. Because of this event, I went through depression, I went through post-traumatic stress, but even through those, I came out on top. I won. And I've made it my purpose to give those around me the same strength and the wisdom that I had to get through it. Because if I can go through my mother being murdered when I was 7 years old and beat the depression that came out of it, then that proves that you can get through the dark times. The dark times are only temporary, and they are only there to make you stronger and make you more appreciative of the good times. Now, I have no bad times. I have made it my mindset that all time is good. Through different perspective changes, I have beaten the depression, and I don't feel sadly about my mom's passing at all. She was in too much pain. Far too much pain. And she needed that to end. And I needed to go through that to become the person who I am today. I needed to go through that experience to become the awakened prophet. Thank you for listening.